Hey Peculiars, it's me, Amanda, the Peculiar Brunette, and today I'm going to be talking about how to make a grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows, and this is part 2 of the series. Today I'm going to be talking about book formats and choosing the paper that's going to work best for you. I'm also doing a blog post in conjunction with this, so if you ever want anything in like written format, I'll make sure and link that down below so that you can always read that or refer back to it. Also, if you don't want to miss any of these posts, make sure to subscribe and check the notifications button so you can always get alerted when I do a new video out. And I also have a newsletter that I do, a Magical Monday newsletter that I'll also link down below, and I always pop in the information that I put in here, so that's another way to stay updated on what posts and videos that I'm putting out if you are interested in that. So I know it can seem really daunting and overwhelming to start a grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows. There's so many different options to consider, like the format that you want to choose, the different types of paper that there are, what you even want to put inside of it, how you're going to organize it. So I wanted to make a step-by-step series, just outlining each step so that you can figure out what's going to work best for you and what your style is and what kind of aesthetic that you want to have for it. So I know a lot of people say that they think it's really trivial to consider the aesthetic of your book of magic or spiritual journal. I could not disagree with that more, because your grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows is your space. It's something that you go to keep your ideas, your thoughts, inspiration, and it should be something that's beautiful to you and that works well for you and how you're going to use it. And if you don't want to go pick it up and use it, you're just not going to. So it needs to be something that is pleasing to you. So and that kind of makes you feel creative, you know, and excited. So first off, we're going to start off with a list of things that you should consider. And I'm hoping that this is going to kind of help you narrow down what it is that is important to you and what you care about. A lot of times when people go through lists on YouTube videos that I watch, I get really bored because I get distracted easily. So I'm going to do some bullet points here, and I'm going to have some nature backgrounds in the background so that you're not just staring at me going through this list. So let's go ahead and do that now, all right? Let's go. A grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows is a space where your creativity, heart, magic, soul, and spirituality all come together in one place. And sometimes that can be messy and beautiful all at once. Does that mean that it should be perfect? No. This is not about perfection. It's about a magical book or spiritual journal that grows and evolves with you over time. So please do not feel like it has to be perfect. Go ahead and start, because it is just going to evolve, because you're going to grow and learn as a person. So I want you to consider the following questions. Do you typically utilize your phone or computer when storing information or jotting down notes? Is your aesthetic minimal? Does your love for a leather-bound book run deep? Does it need to be made of recycled materials? Do you want to craft your own or buy something so you can get started quickly? What do you want your book to look like? Is it important for it to be beautiful, functional, or both? Do you want one book that's a catch-all to store all of the information, or would you rather split them into separate books for different sections? What size of a book do you envision will work best for you? Do you want to be able to rearrange the pages as you go? Consider your style preference. What type of art, if any, do you plan to include in your book? Watercolors, multimedia, photographs, calligraphy, scrapbooking, pressed flowers, or leaves are just a few examples. What do you plan to do with random notes or loose papers that you accumulate? Do you like to be able to write things on the go and have something to carry with you? If you choose to adhere objects like pressed flowers or leaves, this will no longer allow the pages to lie flat in your book. Does that bother you? If it does, contemplate choosing a different binding that will allow for more space. All right, so now that you've had some time to think about what works best for you and how you plan to kind of use your grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows, I'm gonna go through 8 different types of formats that you could use. Now, some of these I'm gonna make some corresponding videos later and dive more into depth of how to make them and to give you kind of some inspiration on it. But right now I'm just gonna hit on the 8 points and then we can go from there. Let's go. So option number 1, digital, virtual, or online. If you're wondering how to make a digital grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows, honestly, the possibilities are endless. I've heard of many people creating their own private blog, using Evernote, different journaling apps, or creating a secret Pinterest board to store all of their magical information. My suggestion, if you're wanting to do it digital, would be to use Google Drive. You can create different folders, include images you like, links, source the information and where it came from, and it even has a search section to help you find what you were looking for, which can come in really handy if you're looking for a certain recipe or a certain correspondence, something that you're not having to flip through like, folders and subfolders trying to find it. You can just search it and there it is. Also, everything is automatically saved. You don't have to worry, like a lot of times, like with different blogs, different apps, you have to worry about saving it, or if something crashes, it's not available. Google Docs is not like that. It's super awesome. I know a lot of people don't think this is the most romantical, creative option, but I really do think it's great for those who travel often, minimalists, and those who just need extra privacy. They don't want a book around for people to look through if they're afraid that somebody is gonna come and find it. That's a great option for you because it's got a password protected site. This also enables you to reorganize as you develop your book, so you don't have to worry about, if you're worried about how to organize it or it's new to you and you're just trying to figure out what you even want to keep in it, this can be a great option. And then later, if you do want a physical book, you can move everything in there and you kind of know the format and the organization that you want to do. So as you guys can see here, this allows you to create your own folder section. So I've got all the Grimoire printable PDFs that I have in here. And if you want to create a new one, you can just create a new folder, upload files, upload folders, and create Google Docs. It's very similar to Word. Same thing here, Google Sheets is similar to Excel, Slides is PowerPoint. So what's really great about Google Drive as well is that it gives you lots of storage for free. That's 15 gigabytes. And if you're not using a lot of videos, I mean, honestly, that's gonna last you a lot. So this kind of shows you my drive. This is just my one for the Peculiar Brunette. This isn't my personal one, but, and you can kind of just see where I keep some of my photos in here. But you could really utilize this for your grimoire with these folders to keep everything organized. All right, option number 2, binders. A binder is a great choice for your grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows because it allows you to easily remove pages and rearrange them to your liking. It's not the only option that you have for having movable sections. I've got some more options for that later, so stay tuned for that. It's a great way for somebody when it's their first time starting out to, again, give them some more mobility and some more options by having that flexibility of moving sections around. Now, I know a lot of people don't like binders because they don't think that they're particularly beautiful, but I think you can absolutely create some beautiful binders, and you can even find leather binders, which I know that has the more classic grimoire look. You can find them, I've seen them out there. I'll try to find some here and link them below. But if that's the aesthetic that appeals to you, we can still totally make that work. Binders can also be a really cost-effective option. I even found some at the dollar store that worked really well. And I'm gonna do a tutorial on that, so stay tuned for the next video for that. If you're going to be doing a binder, I think it's a really important step to include dividers, because that's a great way to add sections and to be able to keep everything organized. Page protectors are also very important, because think about, depending on whatever you're doing, if you're doing candle magic or you're doing any kind of kitchen magic or you're doing something out in your garden, crafts, I mean, you can get them pretty dirty pretty quickly, and page protectors are super important because it keeps everything clean and spotless and you don't have to worry about damaging any of them. I even have it in my recipe, I have a recipe binder that I keep all my recipes in, and I keep those in my kitchen, and they all have page protectors and they all need it. Another great thing about the page protector is you can also slide things in. So if you have maybe like pressed flowers or any dried herbs that you also have on the pages, this is a great way when they're to have them in the page protector. It's a great way to keep them safe and keep anything from falling out. Binders are also a really great option for those who are looking for some added privacy. If you keep the cover blank and stick it on a shelf with some other binders, it looks really plain. You can't really tell what's in there. You can also go to a local hardware store or look online, like on Amazon, and you can find some locks that you can add to it where only you have the key, so you don't have to worry about anybody getting into it. This is apparently the moment that my neighbor has to weed eat her lawn. Sorry. Option number 3, journals, notebooks, and bound books. This can also be a fairly inexpensive option. If you choose to use a journal or notebook, I would recommend, my favorite personal option is a spiral notebook, because you don't have to worry about fighting the pages to stay open. They always lay flat. There are other bindings that allow you to do that, so that would be my recommendation. You don't want to be trying to fight the book to stay open while you're trying to write in it, or if you're trying to reference it later, again, you want it to be able to lay open and you're not trying to, find a way to keep it open when you're trying to reference from it. Bullet journals are very popular nowadays for a reason. They keep type A oriented folk like myself super organized. The index and numbered pages are great at helping keep your sections for easy access later. You could also just fully embrace the daily and weekly bullet journaling practices into your spirituality to help you use your magical book more often. If you utilize the journal, notebook, or bound book option, I would also look into bookmarks. There are so many different options and can be great ways to keep sections organized for quick reference. You could also try creating a series of bound books. So again, each bound book is its own section for you to reference. But if you're gonna do this, I would still consider having a master book that indexes everything out, so because it can get confusing to try to find something. I'm trying to think of a good example. Maybe you're looking for like a certain type of herb and you want to know like, oh, what can I use mint for? And you've maybe got it under herb stuff, but then maybe you have it under kitchen stuff as well. And if you have different sections and books for that, it can be hard and you can miss out on some information. So I would still have a master book that has all the information that you need in it. Option number 4, buying pre-made and customizing it. So another great option is buying a pre-made book that's already got a lot of the information in it and you can just add notes to it as you go along. Or my favorite way to do it is buying some pre-made PDF pages. Now, sometimes there's just not enough hours in the day to spend researching all the information that you'd like to include in your book. So doing the printable PDF pages is such a great option because somebody's already done all the research for you. Now, the PDF pages can be added to any options that you choose. So for example, if you choose a binder, you can simply hole punch them and put them in place into your binder. If you did the digital option, you can just save the PDFs straight into your digital option. And like I was saying on the Google Drive, you can create different folders and you can just add the PDF to your different folder sections. Any of the other journaling options, you can actually just physically print out the PDFs, cut them out, and paste them into your grimoire, kind of similar to scrapbooking, and you can still keep it really creative and artistic as you go along. If you'd like to check out some options for that, I have some for sale on my website, which I will link them down below. And I'm always adding more, so continue to check back. Number 5, travel or pocket size. This might be a great option to store essential information that you reference frequently and would like to always have on hand. A place to keep your favorites. Maybe even artwork or quotes for those days you need a little extra inspiration. Travel or pocket size also works well for when ideas come to you that you don't want to forget for later. You can just jot down the ideas that you have right in that moment, and then later you can format them and organize them more beautifully to put in your grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows that you have at home. Option number 6, modular units. So what I mean by modular unit is something that's kind of similar to the traveler's notebooks. If you haven't ever seen these, they have some elastic binding that goes along the center, and you can actually take like different inserts to put inside. Now I'm gonna be doing a DIY version of this in the next few videos, so you can definitely make your own. But if you're not really wanting to make one, I'll do a link down below so that you can see what they are, and you can buy it if you'd like. So this is basically another great option if you're wanting to be able to rearrange as you grow. So you can always take the notebooks out if you decide the one that you had in there wasn't really something that you wanted to have anymore, or you can add a new one in, or say you just don't like it, you can swap them out. So this is another great option if you want to be able to rearrange things. Option number 7, a DIY spiral binder with removable pages. So having the removable pages, I've noticed, is something that comes up a lot that people are concerned about. I know that's something that I care a lot about in my own. So I'm actually going to be doing a DIY tutorial where I show you how to make a DIY spiral notebook, and we're going to make it so that the spine can open so that you can remove the pages. And that's going to be in the next couple videos, so stay tuned for that. All right, and option number 8, the very last one, is a DIY repurposed book. Now, I know some people cringe at the idea of destroying a book and can't fathom using it for their grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows. However, I like to buy mine at thrift stores and think of it as bringing it back to life. I always use hardcover books that give me a good vibe and have really sturdy bindings. I also prefer to use books that aren't very popular and that I feel won't be purchased to be read for pleasure later. For example, when I was out looking for the book that I'm going to show you here, I found one that I really liked, and it was black and it was hardcovered and it was really great looking, but I saw that it was the same book from the author that wrote the Da Vinci Code, and although I didn't know that book, I hadn't read it, I felt like that might be something that somebody wanted to purchase and read, so I left it there just for the next person. And I didn't feel like I was destroying a book that somebody might actually want to read. What's really great about the option of using a repurposed book is that it can be really fun and creative, and it kind of reminds me of junk journaling. Now I'm also going to be showing you how to do that. Obviously I went and bought one so that I can show you guys how to do that, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to make some more videos on that as well. So the last thing that I'm going to be talking about today is paper. So the paper that you choose to put in your book is really important, because if you don't think about how you want to use your book, you might end up choosing the wrong kind of paper. I know I personally don't care for lined paper because I like to put a lot of artwork into mine, and I cannot stand having lines through my artwork. But some people like to have the lines on there because if they're doing a lot of writing, it helps keep everything nice and organized. So I would really challenge you to think about how you're going to be using it. Are you going to be doing calligraphy on it where the pen might bleed through the paper? Are you going to be adding any kind of paint or watercolors? Again, you'll need some sturdier paper. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions to kind of help challenge you and think about what it is that you want, similar to what I just did with the journals. So here we go on that. Do you want the pages to be blank, lined, or bulleted? Is it important to you that your paper is environmentally friendly or made of recycled material? Should the paper be heavy enough to allow for watercoloring or painting? Would you enjoy using an alternative option like craft paper? Will the paper prevent any ink from bleeding through to the other pages? Do you plan to print on the pages, or do you plan to do handwriting? Do you plan to stain your pages with tea, coffee, or natural coloring? Would you enjoy making your own paper from scratch and maybe including some pressed flowers or dried herbs? So the number one challenge I see is people being afraid to mess up. Spoiler alert, you're gonna mess up. You're just going to. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna think that you wanted to do one thing and then you're gonna change your mind and do something else. So please, 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 just start. It's okay to mess up. It's okay, because you're gonna have fun and you're gonna learn and you're gonna grow so much more by just starting. So hopefully this has been really helpful in getting you started. Now the next videos from here I plan to do are kind of like part 2A, part 2B, so that I can show you some of these specific formats and some ideas on how you can make them yourself or how you can utilize them. If you have any other questions or things that you want to know regarding starting your own grimoire or Wiccan Book of Shadows, please comment below and let me know so that I can make sure to include it in here, or I can just straight up answer them for you in the comment section. Lots of love to you guys, and remember, as always, stay peculiar.